Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Daryl, and that's Dion.
Oh yeah.
And today we're going to do something a little different besides where we stand. Today we're going to be giving our first impressions on Ghost of Tsushima, which is available on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5.
Oh yeah, let's do it. So just to give you a little note, this will be a more off script, just thoughts about the game to give you a thought of how we feel. We won't do any spoilers in this video. We'll just give you that first fresh impressions of the game.
Yep.
So start it off here. Let's just talk about our good things that we really enjoy or like about the experience.
Before we get into that, I should also note that we got as far as the beginning-ish of Act 2. So we will be talking about some aspects that were in Act 1, but not full-on spoilers. Just stuff that we encountered during that time. So for me, some of the things I really enjoy about Ghost of Tsushima right now so far are, I'm gonna say the authenticness of the world.
Ooh,
Like it feels authentic. Now I haven't been to Japan, but it still feels, it gives off the same atmosphere that they're trying to project. Let's put it that way. It feels like, I don't want to say feudal Japan. I don't know what era this is, but it's like that anywhere from like how people are behaving to the environment itself, to the shrines that you'll visit, or at least the ones that you can reach. So many of them are out of reach.
True.
And, well, actually, no, I'd argue they're all out of reach. They're meant to be jumping puzzles, or at least obstacles in a way that lead up to that point. I like the shrines as an extra thing that you could do. You don't have to do those, but it's encouraged that you should, because you can get charms and stuff from it. How do you feel about the shrines?
So, the shrines specifically, I don't know if I have a strong opinion. They're fun. They're cool. I mean, they're a cool aspect, but I can say at least about the world in general, I do think it feels very authentic. I agree. I love how they designed the world, and I think this is just in general reviews that we've heard. It's the world is really cool. How the trees bend, how the wind blows, how the grass flows. And I'm running this on base PS4, which is probably one of my complaints. But I'm running this on base PS4, and it looks good on my 4K TV, and it's a good experience as far as the world. I do the shrine specifically. I guess I do like how it's like a little puzzle to find or get to the top of the mountain to get the shrine. That's always cool. I found out very recently in my last session of play that you can go back down the shrine if you turn around.
Yeah.
I didn't know that till now, which is kinda. I was literally jumping off trying to find ways down. I lose all my health and just heal back up.
Oh no.
So that's what I've been doing, but I do like that aspect. But you did want to talk about combat really quick. Combat for me, I would say, is enjoyable. It's different. I like the stance idea and how you have to use the stance and go through, use your triangle button, or you're playing on PlayStation, so yeah, your triangle to use your heavy attack, and you have to do that. And then how you learn more moves within each stance, or you can be a ghost, and there's kind of different ways you build the characters. It doesn't work like a normal tree, which I think helps the combat, because you can do like a stealth action, or you can really just go in there, be a samurai, and just switch stance. And you can get a whole group of people. It takes a little bit to get it used to, I think. But once you're used to it, it's very easy. How about you?
I, for one, really love the samurai combat. I love changing stances and whatnot. I do think that trying to mix and match combat styles and whatnot in the middle of combat, not changing stances specifically, but like if I wanted to use like a smoke bomb, if I wanted to throw kunai, but I don't have it equipped right now, I think that's a lot of buttons and menus to click through.
Ooh, yeah, good point.
And whatnot to do it. But I'm holding more on that for the inevitable where we stand on it. But I will say that it feels cumbersome, but it's great in the moment when you're trying to like set up what you're gonna do. Like if you're just gonna go charge in there, I wouldn't recommend like flipping through all those menus like, okay, now I want to use my smoke bomb, now I want to use this. Like, no, I think that's primarily for when you're like in the grass and planning. Then you could do that. Then it's not as cumbersome because you're not trying to do on the spot.
Well, it has a little bit of a pause. Like it kind of pauses a little bit when you switch.
A little bit.
I do it because I like the smoke screen and the kunai. So, I smoke screen then chain assassination. Oh my goodness, beautiful combo.
I will also say that Ghost gameplay though, compared to the Samurai gameplay, for me is it's fun, but it's a little lacking, a little underwhelming, and that's mostly because That's mostly because I've done it so many times before, so I'm not really going to directly blame this game for it. If it was someone's first experience with that kind of gameplay, then they're going to have a blast with it. Me?
Can I just spoil the illusion that you're making?
Go for it.
And the illusion that has haunted my experience. It's Assassin's Creed, guys. It's Assassin's Creed again. It's the assassination aspect just isn't as smooth as that game, though.
But it is cool. When you do get the chance to like sneak up to someone and kill them, and you can actually upgrade that to be able to do that faster and do chain assassinations.
That's me.
At some point, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but even then, yeah. If we're comparing it to Assassin's Creed, or at least what Assassin's Creed was about assassins, it's not as strong. But for what it is, yeah, it works. It's fun, but it's not. It doesn't do anything completely unique. It's nothing to write home about. It's your basic stealth gameplay. So I much prefer the samurai nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you get to like do the standoff thing. Like for me it's like a weird grudge match or a grudge for me, where other games are like, hey, there he is, let's fight him. But in this game you're like, fuck it, fight me if you're a coward. Or fight me if you have the balls. I'm like, yeah, you don't like it when I jump on you, do you?
Oh my goodness.
It's so much fun.
No, I do like it. It definitely makes you it makes you feel a certain type of way.
Yeah, you get that, you really get that that experience. But from there we can give our like brief opinions on the story so far.
Well, yes.
In a very general sense, hopefully.
Good point. You know, the story is you're basically trying to take back your island. You lost the war, trying to take back an island. That's the general story beat right there. And it's I don't know if the story is really engaging me as much as I thought it would. I actually think maybe the gameplay is pulling me in a little bit more. I really like the game, but the characters are very good. I would say
they are.
right off the bat. The acting on the characters is extremely good. The story, overall arcing story that leads you to that is maybe not as interesting necessarily, but the beats of the story are good. Like taking where we got beaten Act 1, I should say. Don't want to spoiler anything there, but in beaten Act 1 was a very fun story beat that I enjoyed. So
I think for me, the overarching story, I agree. So far at this moment where we're at in the story doesn't really matter too much, but I think that's because most of the game's tension falls on what you're doing as a player and whatnot. Like, if you are the type of person that's like, okay, my uncle said you are a samurai. Samurai don't attack from behind. Samurai do not this. Samurai do that. If you're holding yourself to that in the game, it weighs a lot more because you feel guilty whenever you're like, okay, they'll start stabbing people in the back. I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna start doing that, because you know your uncle's gonna ridicule you when he finds out.
Yes, no, I feel guilty. I feel you. I feel guilty the whole time, and I'm doing stealth, and I still feel guilty.
Yeah.
And there's even more parts we'll talk later about, parts that even exude on that a little more. It's really interesting. Actually.
And we can get into
you're like, ouch.
Yeah. Now I'm not gonna say it. Now the game doesn't seem to like punish you for it, because then that would just defeat the purpose of having that option if you're just going to make it feel like the player's going to get the bad ending or something like that if they lean into this. Because the point is, the whole point of the story from my perspective is that Jin is struggling to retain his samurai nature, knowing that the Mongols, who are the enemy in the game, are taking advantage of that. If you're known, it's kind of like, if I had to put it without spoilers, if I had to compare it to, say, if you were to fight Superman, what's the best way to beat Superman? Don't fight him directly unless you have kryptonite. But don't fight him directly. Start killing the civilians. He'll eventually surrender because he's Superman. He's not going to kill you. But what if Superman were to change his code and just outright knock your head off?
Oh yeah, I feel that.
That's essentially what this game is saying. The Mongols are taking advantage of the fact that you are a samurai and you have your own code. They understand that code. But what happens if you don't obey it? They don't count on that. That's where it gets interesting.
True. No, I agree. I agree on that, 100%. I want to talk briefly about some of the things I didn't like gaming story-wise. There's just a few nitpicky things. They are 100% nitpicky. I don't think there's anything I like truly dislike, but
Completely fine.
some gameplay aspect that I didn't really enjoy. Some of the movement feels awkward, and I don't know if playing at 30 FPS on my standard PS4 is the reason. It could be. I'm not used to that. I'm used to playing on a powerful PC. And so that is something that I think definitely weighs on that experience. But it's awkward. Like climbing's awkward, jumping is awkward. There's just a few awkward movements that other games are a little smoother.
I have a problem with the climbing specifically.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, I'm thinking, I blame Assassin's Creed for this. Not in a bad way necessarily, but I'm like, actually not even Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, Tomb Raider. I'm climbing a wall. I'm used to holding the left analog stick to go up or down or wherever I'm going and pressing X to jump. But in this game, it's hold up. If you jump, he will jump off the rock and fall.
Oh yeah, it's weird.
Now, granted, I am going. This isn't a story bit necessarily, but I'm going to spoil something you do get because it's part of climbing. You get a grappling hook. That part's fine, but it's a little clunky because sometimes a branch will be out of the way and you'll see a foothold or whatever that you have to grab first and then jump up and then use the rope. But you can just ignore it and just use it. Like if you've played Tomb Raider, any of the recent Tomb Raiders, then they do it much better there. But again, the open world here, the small. I'm gonna sum it up this way: climbing is not the focus of this game, so you don't need to worry too much about that. Typically, anytime you have to climb, unless you're in an area where you need to scale a mountain or something like that, you can just go around it, and your horse is relatively fast. Heck, I want to say Sakai, or Jin himself, he's actually pretty fast. He gets tired, but I'd argue he's pretty quick, on his feet. So,
and climbing's not bad enough where you need to avoid it anyway. It's just the weaker aspect of the game. There's one more small nitpicky thing I had in the first, few hours we played, is. And the story's not bad and how everything works, but it doesn't feel fluid. And hear me out on this one, guys. When you have to talk to a character, you got to click the button and it goes to a black screen loading slightly, and then it goes into the cutscene, and then it breaks out. It's just, it kills me every single time.
The immersion breaking.
The immersion breaking. It just doesn't flow the way I expect it to from playing other experiences. I know 100% this is probably a part of using the standard PS4 because of the loading times, but it's just, to me, that breaks the experience, and it is a little annoying, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is the unfortunate bit. Typically stuff like that doesn't bother me too much for me.
Right. I've never complained about that.
But even then, for a game like this, which strangely enough, the cutscenes are like that, like you just said. But when I fast travel, that's surprisingly fast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't understand. I'm like, wait, you had to fade to black, load for a little bit. You don't really get a loading screen, but you do load a little bit. Then you go into the cutscene. But that feels like that takes longer than if I were to go across the first area from I don't know, Asimo Bay all the way to the Forge, but that takes like 5 seconds max.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's just really weird, really awkward. It's once again very small pet peeve, and I would not let it tell you not to play this game. But yeah, that's definitely there. Anything else you want to add before we close out here?
No, I think we can wrap up here with just a sum up of how we feel about the game so far. Yeah, the game is. If you were to ask me whether or not this game is worth getting or anything like that for your PS4 or PS5, I'd say yes. Probably even more so for PS5, considering that the load times are basically non-existent from what I'm seeing with some of those games. But the combat is a lot of fun. The characters are endearing. The overarching story as of right now is not very... I won't say it's not very interesting, but the characters make it interesting. So I'd say if it's a very character-driven story. So if you're into that kind of stuff, if you're into samurais,
which I am, by the way,
awesome. Samurais,
awesome.
Asian culture, old Asian culture, and the like, then you're gonna love Ghost of Tsushima. Sucker Punch did great. I will say this: it was a little out of left field considering what the last game, that major game they made was Infamous Second Son.
Yeah,
that was,
no kidding.
That was so out of left field. I saw that announcement. I'm like, oh, Ghost of Tsushima looks cool. That's Sucker Punch. Those Sly Cooper looking motherfuckers. those infamous looking motherfuckers. I'm saying that as a joke, but yeah. Oh man, they like being unpredictable, clearly. But that's games worth playing. Definitely worth playing. I can't wait to finish it. That's
and I agree with you. I agree with everything. Obviously, I just want to say I recommend if you can play it on a non-standard PS4, play it on a non-standard PS4. Other than that, great experience. And with that, I do want to say we're going to close out here. This was our first impressions and how we feel about the experience thus far. We will be completing the game and doing a full where we stand, but we want to give you our first thoughts, and we want to continue this type of video as well as we move forward in exploring different types of games. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, see you guys.